Abelle Hayford is an award-winning color designer currently working at Netflix Animation. In 2017, they created the Drawing While Black hashtag and directory, which has become an invaluable resource for Black talent visibility across the animation, gaming, and illustration industries. In recognition for their contribution to the community, they won the 2021 Concept Art Luminary Award, and they continue to use their platform to advocate for Black creators. Join us today for a conversation with Abelle about their career and approach to art.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Painted in Color podcast. I'm Lauren Brown, co-host, today joined here by Mia Araujo and our special guest, Abelle Hayford. Hi, Abelle.
Hi.
It's such an honor to have you on the show. You have been a hot topic in the art community.
Oh, really?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Don't even downplay it. Live it. Be it. Yeah, of course. Abelle is the inventor of the Drawing While Black hashtag. I can speak words on Twitter, and has amassed a huge following for that hashtag and created a bunch of opportunities for many Black artists that were once obscured. This gave a voice to the Black art community, especially in animation and gaming. And it is really starting to change the landscape in terms of the diverse hiring and making sure that these companies actually have Black voices behind the scenes to help actually contribute to these projects and to create their own projects. So it's a huge thing. I've definitely benefited from it, and I know a lot of other artists have. So welcome, Abelle.
Thank you for having me again. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah. So first I just want to start out, by asking you about your background and what your attitude towards art and when you started creating, and basically what was your journey like?
Yeah. I guess I started when I was really young. I geared towards painting in preschool and stuff, and I guess my teacher was like, wow, this is good. And as a preschool, I'm just drawing when I'm drawing. I drew a sunflower, and since then, I just started to get more and more into look into art. I think what really caught me, or what really drove my parents, oh, maybe they're artists, is I would look at newspapers and be like, oh, look at this editorial illustration, and I would purposely search for illustrations in magazines and books. And also I was so obsessed with cartoons. I would just watch a lot of Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Disney. I wasn't watching cartoons. I was probably watching CNN, which is really funny. But I think one really big driver was when I got onto being art. I actually got a being art page when I was 8. Don't recommend that as really young. Yeah, I was 8 years old. Of course there's some baggage that comes with that, but I guess it was a gateway for me to be in the art community, especially in digital art world. Oh, yeah. And I was like, you know what, I want to be like these artists, like Lois. When I saw Lois's art for the first time, I was like, wow, I want to be her. I want to paint like her, and I think that really pushed me into actually taking my art seriously, because as a kid I was like, I just like doing art, but I think when I was able to be exposed to the art community online, I was like, you know what, I want to make art just like these people I see, and I got my first drawing tablet when I was in 5th grade. After pushing my parents to get me a drawing tablet, they finally gave in, and since then I kept on building my skills until of course my parents are very typical African parents were like, why do you want to be an artist? Don't you want to be a doctor or a scientist? Because my dad's a chemist. So it's my dad was like, maybe they'll go into science or be a doctor, pharmacist. But I was like, no, I don't want any of that. I want to be an artist. And of course they gave me a hard time until high school, where I actually was kind of giving recognition for my work. I would get scholarships, awards, because of how much I grind on my talent. I think for the most part, most of my high school career is mostly focusing on art, but with that being said, I think in high school I started have a revelation, is my art really reflective of me? I would often just draw anime characters, but most of them weren't Black. They didn't look like me, and I think in freshman year I was like, you know what, I need to really draw more Black people, I guess, more make art that reflects the world I want to see, because it's like I had a like good diverse group of friends, and like I'm very proud of my heritage of being like Ghanaian. Like I wanted to reflect that in my art, because it was like from the like I wouldn't say I was like, you know, I wasn't like, you know, ashamed of who I am, but my art didn't reflect that, you know. And it's like, and also too, it's kind of like I wanted to, also the art that I saw on like Tumblr and like all these websites, they were mostly like, you know, white or like light skinned people, or just like there's no blackness in this art. And oftentimes like I think this is inherent thought, like black does not equal beautiful, you know. And I kind of wanted to be like, no, that's not true, you know. Black is beautiful, and blackness can be shown in different types of art, you know. And so I think that's what pushed me into transforming my art into featuring not only just more black folks, but more queer folks, more different body types, you know, just like characters, and like really show that anyone can, you know, be represented in art in any way they want, you know. And I think that kind of like pushed me to the art that I'm making today, which is like I want to make not only just like colors, but it's like I want the personality of my work to be colorful, you know.
Yes. And I think that definitely comes across too with your beautiful art style and the wonderful quality that you have with it. What influences did you have growing up? I know obviously you said you loved cartoons and anime and things like that, but your style now is much more of a more animated cartoon style. Also gorgeous quality, amazing colors. So what were your like biggest influences aside from Loish and the other ones? Like any shows that resonated with you particularly?
Well, one show, I was obsessed with Shaolin Shodown as a kid. I really loved the story, the character designs, especially Kimiko, because Kimiko would have different type of fashions, and you know, so I was like, oh, she like, you know how cartoons like they can't, you know how the type lines, you can't always redress characters, but she was redressed every single episode. I was like, I want to do that. Like it's like she's a dress up king, you know. But I'm trying to think of like other artists. Like I think like definitely like Genny Tarkowski's work. Like I didn't realize how ingrained his style was in my character design, because I really like how simplified he does things, but also like each things has like character to them, you know. Wow, I'm trying to think what else. Proud Family, of course, was like a big influence.
Oh yeah.
That was a big influence for me. Steven Universe was definitely a turning point in my high school career. I can't deny that. Like, but not only with Becca Sugar, but Danny Hines' character design. I think his character design definitely has a big influence, and not just Steven Universe, but also just in general, like how cartoons look today, you know. And I think there's a lot of things, of course, a lot of online artists I found, you know. When I was in high school, I definitely looked up to a lot of people who are like, of course, working in the industry, but a lot of college students, you know, who went to MICA, Cal Arts, SBA. Like, I think being able to look, observe people who, which is funny though, because I used to be the fans, and I'm like their co-workers. Like, literally one artist I really looked up to is literally my supervisor. So it's like, it's crazy how like small the industry is, but also like how, like, it's amazing how like you can connect to people you look up to as a peer, you know, like instead of like thinking that these are above, like you realize like, oh, they're also human, they're also artists, and they're also share the same passion that I do, you know, and like they have the same respect for me, then I have the same respect for them, you know. So it's really fun to like basically grow up and then work with kind of like the people that basically help raise you art wise, you know.
Yeah, and you're doing it fairly early too. Like this is I mean, it's an amazing turning point for you for sure to be able to get into the industry like this at your age and to be able to impact the community like this as well. So I want to get into it. How like just, you know, how did it start? How did the Drawing While Black hashtag begin? And like what year that hashtag caught fire?
Yeah, so I think what definitely initiated when I created it, at the time I was an intern at Warner Bros. Because I actually got a fellowship right before I graduated high school, which allowed me to intern there for 4 years, which is like I think really helped me understand pipeline really easily in the industry. But at the time, like I like really appreciate what I learned there. But I think one thing that really got to me was I didn't really know a lot of Black artists in the studio, or like I couldn't really connect with a lot of them. And also too, a lot of a lot of my school, Micah, like it is a PWI, you know, so it's like there wasn't a lot of Black students, but a lot of Black animation students and Black illustration students, you know. And I was like, you know what, let me try to make a hashtag that kind of connects with other Black artists, because it's like I know I'm not the only one, you know. It's like that would be kind of like ignorant of me to think I'm like the only Black artist, you know. But it's like also too, it's like these artists deserve to get platforms. Because like I see all my Black friends and all the Black artists, like they're so amazed, but like not getting the same recognition as everyone else, you know. It's like I just wanted a hashtag to highlight them. And I think that year Visible Woman was also really popular, and it's like, oh, if I could just make a hashtag kind of like Visible Woman, but like for like Black artists, and started Drawing While Black, which basically took upon on its own journey, which is like really cool. I didn't expect it to blow up the way it did, you know. I just thought it was gonna be like a little small event, you know. But like I was getting contacted by like different news outlets, like asking me to interview for it. I'm like, I'm still in school. I'm like, I was a sophomore at the time in college. I was like, I got a final due today, and you want me to interview for this thing? Like I was so shocked. I was like so overwhelmed, but it was also really nice to see that it got to that reach, you know. And they made me reflect. I was like, maybe I should try to do more of this hashtag. Like maybe I should try to move each time I have it, like try to move it to the next level. Because I think then I was like, okay, maybe I can make a directory so like people can look to hire these people, you know, like hire these artists who are participating in it, like basically put their money where their mouth is. If they want to hire Black artists, here's the directory which features Black artists. And then I was like, okay, hiring, but not everyone's gonna get hired, you know. And some people are not there yet to they might be lacking resources or not have the proper tools to you know, advance their career, like advance their art practice, you know. And some people might even want to work independently. So I think last year Wacom actually contacted me, and after talking to them, we came up with a grant program which gave Wacom ones to artists who do need Wacom ones to like basically like practice, to pursue their art practice, you know. And that was last year. And then this year I thought more, I was like, you know what, like maybe I should move this more into a more non-profit approach. And I think one thing that kind of maybe make or break someone's career is like, do they have like the financial support, you know? And so I created the grant program this year to start, you know, financing Black artists. And if they need like to finance a class, buy a website, buy a tablet, you know, like any type of like financial like aid for that, like I want to help out with that, you know. Because I think for me it's like, if like I like, and this is the same, like I did not come from like a wealthy family. Like my dad was a professor, but like he was working at community college. My mom was taking care of like an elderly woman, you know. And so like we were below, I wouldn't even call us middle class, you know. But I think what had helped me was like, because I did so much, I like I depended on a lot of scholarship and a lot of like also like outside financial support. So I did commissions, and also too I like had a little small freelance gig in like high school, you know. But like I think money was like such, having like these funds giving to me, like I was able to invest in my career, like getting a tablet and stuff. And also I went to art magnet school too, so it was like an outside program outside of high school, you know. So I was able to like help my career. But also a lot of people don't have access to even basic art classes in high school, you know. Some people don't have access to go to college. Like some people like going to college is not an option to them, you know. Or like the art classes aren't, you know, up to par, you know. And like there are like online classes out there taught by industry professionals, but like they are expensive. Of course it's like a lot cheaper than like going to traditional high school, but $800 is like, that could be like a whole month's rent, you know. Like, so I think start at least where I want to start like funding, I want to start giving back and like funding these things. So instead of like being like, because I know there's also inherent like fear like being a diversity hire. It's like no, it's like I kind of want to help people recognize like no, you are deserving of what you get, you know. And it's like if you need help, like this is a community that could help you pursue your art practice, you know.
Yeah, that's amazing. Seriously.
Yeah. I want to know, how can we help? Is there a place that we can donate to this fund so that we can make it every year?
Yeah, so I made a coffee account. I think it's John Wall Black. Yeah, I think it's John Wall Black. Sometimes like the name, the lower the count, but I think it's John Wall Black. Okay. And right now it's like I'm doing $500 grants, and fortunately, I do want to do that every like at least biannually, so every 2 times a year. Yes. So this round we're still taking applications. Like last week was supposed to be the deadline, but I extended it just to like give people more time to write down the answers. And then of course February, because I do Draw on Black in February and September, I'm going to redo it again. And right now we're doing 6 artists, but you guys, anyone can donate to the coffee account. Fortunately enough, we did raise enough for 6 artists, but of course it's going to be a continuous fund, so I'm not opposed to more funding, because it's like this is going to go to the next iteration of the scholarship program.
Awesome.
That's amazing. This is already like such a big, like wonderful initiative, especially for you to be shouldering it. But I'm curious as to what you imagine it will become, like as it matures and gets older. Like what are your aspirations for it?
Yeah, I do eventually want to make a foundation. So a nonprofit, I suppose, but I know that's a lot of work, especially for one person. But I think with a nonprofit, I kind of do want studios and like companies to fund the scholarship program, you know, because it's like nice that communities donate, but it's like these are the people who are asking for the directory. It's like, can't you like maybe invest in Black artists, you know? I think like I also, because I think is I don't want people to feel obligated that to be an artist you have to work for a studio, you have to work for a company. Like you should be able to have like an independent art practice, you know. And I kind of want to like help as much as I can, because I know how frustrating it is working in the industry, you know. It's not just animation but illustration, you know, that like sometimes you just want to do things for your own, but it's like it's hard because you can't really finance that. So I want to like make a foundation, not only like, you know, scholarships and grants, but also maybe host a mentorship program. Maybe have panels sponsored by like, and like events sponsored by like John Wall Black Foundation. But that's what I hope for in the next couple of years, just expand it more. But of course I need to like find like a team, and also I'm the type of person that's like I want to avoid volunteer work from others. Like I would just pay them if they want to perform like, you know, a task. Like even when my friends offer their assistance, I'm like, I need to pay you at least like a certain amount that you can feel comfortable with, as opposed to like of course it's like I really appreciate the volunteer, but it's like I'm the type of person like if you perform labor, I'm going to pay you, you know. And I think this is a fair thing to do, you know. So I definitely want to be in a place where if I do have people on my team, it's like I can pay them like adequately, you know. And not, I think I just want to avoid exploiting people. It's like my biggest fear. I don't want to exploit anyone, or like at least try to exploit at least amount of people anyway. So it's like right now I'm like doing it by myself, but as soon as I do raise enough funds, I do want to like build a team and like go in that path with nonprofit.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I mean, I'll be looking forward to the convention one day.
We'll see.
That would honestly be so sick. But yeah, like how I also wonder, it seems like a lot of work and on top of your existing job already, which you have at Netflix as a color designer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit just like about that, and about, you know, like being Black in the industry and how that's been for you, and also how you keep yourself like balanced in terms of all this other stuff as well as your full-time job?
Yeah, so like I do color design, in case like no one knows what color design is. It's basically like I provide color for both props, effects, and characters of the show or the project I'm working on, which may seem some people like, oh, that's easy, it's like a coloring book. Well, imagine doing 100 characters, 100 props, like it's a big job, and often enough it is kind of it's an underpaid job, which is why I advocate that we get paid as much as other designers too. But I also do like care design and visual development on like development works in studios. Also do like illustration stuff, so editorial, and book publishing too, comics, kind of all over the place right now. But I if they're looking for my work, I'll give it to them for money.
As long as you pay me, right?
Yes, exactly. But yeah, right now I'm mostly just focused on my Netflix job because it is a bit demanding because of the scheduling. Yeah, I think for me, like, it's been interesting. Like, even though I technically started working, like, really well working, like, full time since last year. I joined the union last year. I've been working, like, I started my career when I was like 18, like working at Warner Bros. As an intern, so I've been like really, I think me being so ingrained at an early age in the industry, like I definitely learned a lot of good, but also a lot of, I don't want to say bad, but a lot of flaws and a lot of holes in the industry. How I learned about the union. I think I guess the studio's biggest mistake was introducing me to arts, because now I'm like, I understand like what to look for and what not to look for when I get contacted, I think a lot of, and I have had experiences where people have tried to look at my age and like, oh, they're bright-eyed, we could totally exploit them for their work. And it's like, no, that's not gonna work. Like
people are so out there in the art world too. They just like, they feel like they can just prey on young artists because they know exactly what to say. They think they know exactly what you want. And I'm so glad that they didn't get to you. But yes, I've had people try that my whole career.
It's very like, because at first it did get to me, but like it happened when I was like, still like in college, or like 18, 19, but like after I turned around, I was like, I know what to look out for now. And I think I really take that to heart. And I think especially this year, I'm really reflecting on my place as not only like as an artist, but as just a human being. Like, do I like what I really trying to figure out, like, is my purpose really like, is my life given purpose because I work at a certain studio, like, or is my life given person because I'm just who I am, like I really am starting to learn that no matter where I work or like who I work for, is like, at the end of the day, they don't really make me, like I make me, and like I'm not less valuable or more valuable if I work at, a studio, or if, like I'm quote unquote viewed as an asset, it's like I'm doing work because it's like I'm performing labor, and that my art, like, and also too, because I think I would beat myself up for not making enough art outside my work, but it's like art is still labor, and so it's like I learned to give myself, grace, not to be so like, if I'm not making art, I'm not less valuable. It's like, no, it's like I'm still working, and like when I make art, it's like I'm making art, and when I make art, it's like I'm not making, of course, it's like I enjoy my audience. It's like I'm like glad people like my art, but at the end of the day, it's like I'm making art because I love to see my own art. I like seeing what I can do. I like seeing my thoughts put on a piece of paper. And it's like, if I make, even if it's like only one piece, like a month, or just making one thing, like if I enjoy the quality of it, if I'm happy with it, that's good enough for me. And if I'm not making art, then if I'm not making art at the current moment, it's like, maybe it's good that I'm resting. Maybe I should like go outside. Like I'm learning, like, so right now I really got into like different hobbies. Like I'm learning guitar, I'm learning Japanese, I'm learning French. Next year I want to learn Korean. Like I think I guess for me, like understanding my relationship with art, like made me realize like I enjoy other things too. Like I eventually want to be a polyglot. Like I want to learn different languages and stuff. Like I want to explore my knowledge and other things too. And like with that, it helps inform my art practice, like not only take an influence from like the languages, but also the culture that I study, you know, like now of course like also learning my own culture, like Ghana, like my parents being from Ghana, like I'm like trying to, you know, use what I learned outside of art to influence my ideas, my thinking. And also too, like music plays a big role in my life. Like I think like if I wasn't an artist, I would be like a musician, you know, because music has played such a big influence on how I act, how I think, you know, like how, like I can't even like listen. I have to listen to music every single day. Like I can't go a day without listening to music, you know. And I think now I'm like, you know, maybe like in the future, like maybe I could work with musicians or work with music in general, like maybe like be a director of music videos, like an art director, you know. Like I think that's like definitely like one thing I want to drive my career more is like figure out how I can intersect my love for music with my work, you know.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think that your work would actually be really well suited to go along with, you know, a soundtrack or a music video or something amazing. Like, I could only imagine it with all the colors and everything.
Yeah, I definitely I think I definitely, if my dream project is like doing like a visual album, like an animated visual album with like, you know, all like the indie or like hip hop artists I listen to. I think Sufjan Stevens, like he's like I like to call him like a Christian. He's like a Christian indie singer, but like Christian in an apocalyptic gay way. Like it's not like, you know, like simple, like, you know, it's very like the words ending. I don't know if I'm gonna like it's very like chaotic Christian music, and I kind of want to work with him. Like, cause I'm like, yeah, this is, if I could figure out artists, I would want to work with you. Like I don't really like, I'm not really religionist, but his work is very illustrative in his music. I'm like, you know, contact me if you're thinking to contact someone. Contact me because I'll do you justice.
You hear that, Sufjan? Please contact Abelle.
Yes.
They would love to work for you, just say. Or with you. Yeah, that's actually my favorite description of Sufjan Stevens I've ever heard. Chaotic Christian music.
Yes.
But actually, I love his work too, because it is like very, there's something about it that kind of inspires me as well. Like when I'm working on my own art, it just makes me, I like music that makes me feel like I'm outside, and his like I'm outside, or like going on a journey or something like that. But it's really relaxing to me. What other, I'm just curious now, like what other genres or musicians do you really like?
Oh, this is a loaded question.
I know,
I love Tame Impala. I think my favorite band is The Strokes, The Killers, Coldplay, before Coldplay, like up to Viva La Vida. What else? Oh, there was, so recently my Spotify has been recommending me a lot of like early 90s to 2000 like shoegaze music. So it's so Sweet Trip is definitely like, one of my biggest mission is to make Sweet viral. They're like a small indie band. But they basically make anime soundtracks, which is like,
oh, cool.
Like, oh I think one of my favorite like they have an album, I always blank out the name, but there's a song called Disco, and it's basically sounds like an anime opening, and I really love their music. Like their music's also really illustrative. Like it feels like each song was like an episode of like an anime series, you know.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I definitely recommend Sweet Trip. Definitely listen to them. What else? I actually was making writing a script / like short pitch to another album by this songwriter named Maddie. I think he like produces with like, you know, mainstream artists, like he also like does indie stuff. And it like the album is called Danica, and for some reason like the song is very like, the album was very like sad, and like I was like, you know, this reminds me of a black hole. Like maybe I should make a story about a guy who turns into a black hole, you know. So cool. Like I really like taking like albums and just like, because it's like I always think about like how I feel that I prefer listening to songs in order, because like there's a reason why people put their songs in order on albums, you know, like it's to tell like a story, you know, or like to really like focus, like it does have a certain storytelling level to it, and I like to use that as like inspiration for like my own stories, you know. Like I think most of my stories are based off songs or albums.
I am the same way. I kind of selfishly ask this question because I do the same thing. I always love to see like what people who think like this are inspired by, just because I have also created a lot of stories just based off of an album or a song, or like, you know, a whole concept based off of that. So it's just something that's really interesting to me. And it's just cool. I'm so glad like how when other people think like that too. That's really awesome.
Yeah, it's like I definitely I didn't, because sometimes I always struggle like what's my big inspiration and stuff, and I never realized. I feel like music like of course art has a big inspiration, but I feel like music has a bigger inspiration on me, because it's like it helps me really think what my like I think how authentic my thoughts can be without like having like, of course it's influence from other art, but it's like more organic thoughts, you know, like this is what I'm thinking, you know, and like also not feeling like, oh, is this marketable? Like, no, it's like this is what I envision, you know, this is what I see, you know, instead of like having like that influence of like, well, this is popular, this imagery is popular. It's like, no, like, and sometimes my thoughts are kind of crazy. Like sometimes I'm like, how is this physically possible? I'm like, it doesn't matter. You just would draw it. Like
sometimes it doesn't have to be physically possible, you know.
Exactly.
Like, like that's one of the realms that I'm trying to defeat for myself, is just like, so I have some crazy ideas as well, and a lot of artists struggle with this, that they feel like their idea isn't good enough to put out there in the world, or that it's too ridiculous, or you know, it's not going to sell anything. But ultimately, like, it's special because it's from everybody's unique voice. And so I'm glad that you're already in kind of that thought process of thinking, it's like, no, like, it doesn't matter if it's marketable. It matters because it's from me. And that's why it's important.
Exactly. Like I don't know, because like the last couple pieces I made, they're all of them are based off like a song and stuff, and like you could definitely see the change of thought when it comes to my art, because before it was mostly like cutesy, like you know, fashionable, tangible things. Now it's like, what's this entity that Abelle drew? Like, what is this?
I want to see more.
Yeah, me too. It's awesome. I'm looking at it right now, actually. It's the two people crying and almost kissing, holding hands, right?
Yeah, like
and the lights, and
the one you have on your website too. With the
and like I'm like, you know, I like this direction more. Like it feels like what I always wanted my art to look like, but you know, didn't feel like I had the time to make, because it did take me a long time to think these pieces through. But like I, you know, some like, not to be like egotistical, sometimes like, oh wow, you really did that, Abelle, like you really drew that, you know, like you know, like I've been like feeling like that about my art right now, which is such a great feeling, because you know, I think sometimes you feel like you have to be self-deprecating on your art, you know. Sometimes like, oh, this is okay, like, or like this is not good enough, but like, you know, honestly, sometimes I tell myself, I feel like I know I'm in a good place with my relationship with art when I'm like, you know, I miss my own art, you know, like I miss seeing my own art, like I love my own art, you know, like I like my thought process, you know. It's like I can now feel that my art has value to me, you know, because I think before, I think why I had such a weird relationship with my art, because it doesn't have value to others, you know. But now it's like, no, it has value to me, so therefore it's good, you know.
It takes so long for most artists to get to that point with their work, so it's incredible to hear that you have such a healthy relationship with your own work.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it definitely took some time stepping away. And you know, I think in college, I think because you constantly have to make art all the time, you know. Also too, I think with color design, it's like I can be more diverse. I'm not so attached to things, because it's like I'm not really designing things, I'm coloring things in. Of course it takes work, but I think it's more of I feel like color design is more science to me than actually like creating, because it's like you have to figure out what color harmonies work with, and like how it affects it to other backgrounds and stuff. So I feel like it's more scientific and mathematic to me. So that's why I think that allows me to really, when I do have time to illustrate, I'm like, you know, now I can think more visually, like more abstractly, you know, like I can now understand like where I'm coming from, and I don't always have to feel pressure to make a lot of art, you know, because I think in college and stuff, or even high school, every day I had to turn in something, you know. So I had to constantly produce art, and like I think that's why I had a lot of burnout in college, because like I didn't feel like I had a break, you know, and I constantly had to face my art, and like sometimes like I didn't want to make art, but I had to make art. And those times I had to make art, I would never be satisfied with it. I would be like, this is not good enough, this is not good enough, you know. Yeah. Until like sometimes it did take me to fail a couple classes because I was like, I need to take time. Like I need to take time. Yeah. Because it was very hard. I think like with having like ADHD too, like it was very hard for me to prioritize school because it felt like school was important. Like, but like no matter what, school tried to take so much part when I was like, no, I want to live my life. Like I really want to live my life. And like I think also too what I definitely learned about my undergrads, like I felt like I had to do undergrad because I had to find a job. But when I started getting freelance in college, I'm like, well, I'm already working, so why am I here? You know, like I guess like I felt I started lose the purpose of why I'm here. I was always so frustrated, and like especially like the academics part, you know, like I was struggling with like essays and writing. Like it was so frustrating because like I knew it's like I wasn't undergrad because I wanted to be an undergrad. Like I just wanted to get a job, but as soon as I got work, it's like it felt I did give up, and like I was dealing with a lot of mental health issues too. But it's funny, ironically enough, it's like one of the reasons why I go to grad school, because like with grad school, it's like I want to make art, you know. I was like with grad school, I'm going to grad school because I'm choosing to go to grad school, not to advance my career or anything, because I want to be able to have a space where I'm making art, you know, and like help pursue my own art practice, you know. Like I think that's why, because in undergrad, I was like, if I don't like undergrad, why would I go to grad school? But now it's like I understand the difference between grad school and undergrad, because undergrad, it's what my parents wanted. Right. Grad school is like something I want too, because even after undergrad, I still started taking classes, like online classes, you know. And a lot of people are like, why are you still taking classes? You just graduate. I'm like, I don't know. It's like I think I generally just like learning. I love learning, and I always like a lot of my classes. I did like learning stuff. I love hearing my teachers, like their perspective things, you know. But I think for me, it felt like I think I was so blinded by this taste on like feeling like I was obligated to be there that I was like, I hate it. But now I'm like, you know, maybe I should really reflect on like why I was having a hard time, not only in college, but in high school, you know, like it's because I feel like what drives me is like want instead of have, like need, you know, like if I want to do something, like I will put my 100% in it, you know. But if it's what others expect me to do, I'm like, it's not for me. It's like sometimes you have to be selfish if you want, you know. I learned that me being selfish is probably best for me, you know, because I guess selfish when it comes to like my art practice, you know, helped me become selfish when it comes to other things, you know, because I kind of want everyone to get at that point, you know. I want everyone to be able to enjoy art, you know. So it's like that's why I draw my black. I'm like, I want to, you know, help funding and stuff, like, because it's not, because people accuse me of using drama block to advance my career. Like, I don't, it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, it's whatever. Like, this is not for me. This is for the Black community, like the Black arts community, you know. Like, I'm doing stuff, like I'm also taking money out of my own paycheck to help others to pursue what they want. Because I'm already at a point where I am reaching my own goals, you know. It's like, I'm doing this, you know, for myself, and I want other people to have the same fulfillment, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And I can't believe they're just like, oh, you're using it. It's just like, I mean, even if like, you know, and I'm sure it has gotten you a lot of attention and a lot of accolades from other companies and things like that. It's still just like, good for you. You put in the work and you deserve what you got from it, you know? Yeah. It's just like, there's no shame in that at all. Like that's the result of hard work and dedication, is to get something like that. And also that hard work and dedication is uplifting the community as well around you. I can't think of any better like kind of, you know, of result than that, honestly. So
And this society rewards a lot of stuff that I feel like is questionable in terms of value. So it's like, if you are getting something out of this, at least it's for something that we can all respect and champion.
Exactly.
So I don't understand why people have to be like that.
I don't know. I guess it's like, also, I think it could be rooted in like jealousy, but also just like kind of like, if kind of like being projection too, because like I know people would be like, well, if I was a magician, I would use this to my own advantage. I think it's like there is some projection that I see that people have, that's like, you're antagonizing people you don't even know. Like, you don't even know their intentions, so you don't know where they're coming from. Like, you're just projecting your own issues, your own securities on like complete strangers. Because like, if you know me, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I try to be as genuine as possible. Like, I don't think I have evil motives. I don't wish for people's downfall unless they're like awful people. But like, I don't know.
It's like, no, I don't think you have evil motives creating a hashtag that has community. I think you're good on that.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Your motives are not for dark purposes or like anything like that. And I think that's beautiful too. I'm super curious, actually. Do you have any idea or concept of how many jobs it has, given to the community, or like, if there's like a ways that, like, has anybody reported getting hired specifically off of that hashtag? I'm sure there has to be a good amount, but curious to know exactly how many.
I don't know the exact numbers, of course, but I have gotten like reached out by a lot of people who are like, oh, you don't know like how much of an impact this hashtag have. Like, if it wasn't for you, like I wouldn't have started my career, or like I wouldn't have gone where I was, like if it wasn't you starting this hashtag. It's like, of course I like really feel honored. Like, it's very honored to like help someone, like pursue their art practice, and also too, it's like I want to also give them the Oquist. Like, you deserve to be recognized for your work, and it's like, if my hashtag's the reason, and my hashtag is kind of like a small part of like your own journey, like I want you also to recognize that you have it wasn't, you wouldn't, like, you also make the hashtag, like, the art community makes the hashtag, and like I create, like, even though I organize it, it's like it wouldn't be nothing without people participating in it. So it's like, I think it's very a community, like it's community effort, like I can't thank the people who participate in Drawing on Black every year, like, because like sometimes I worry like no one's going to participate, but like every year people show out, and it's like I won't be here without the people who stand by it, and it's like, that's why I'm like, you give me so much and I'm going to give you as much back, like I believe in karma, but like I want to like show that it's like I'm going to keep working for you because you kept on giving to me, and like you kept on supporting me, and like what I'm doing, also just like showing out the hashtag, and just also the community. Like, I feel like it is the least I can do, and it is nice to like hear people's stories of like them working in the industry, or like getting recognized for their work, and also like studios contact me like, oh, can we use a directory, and it's like it's really weird. It's like so weird to like be in contact with people who like I look up to, and like these studios who are like, who seem impossible to reach, and then like coming out, they're asking you for help, as opposed to the opposite, which is like, it's nice actually. Like, you need me when I need you.
That's right. That's right. Yes. And I also can say with confidence that, that your hashtag has also gotten me a lot of different opportunities. Like, I've already had my career, obviously, but it's given me extra opportunities that helped elevate me and made me more visible just by using the hashtag. And so, I personally want to say thank you for doing that, because
it's
pushed my career to a point I never thought it would go. And so, I'm not the only one who's been impacted like this. So yeah.
That means a lot, but also I'm kind of like, your work's so good. So it's like, if this was it, like they should have opened their eyes before. Like, that makes me so happy though. Like, it's always like, oh, I'm always like, damn, like always shocked when I hear things like that. Cause it's like, I just type some words and make a poster. Like, it's crazy what like such like what you, because I always think that's like such a small thing. Like, a small thing can make a really huge change, like the butterfly effect,
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's why I also encourage people, like, if you feel like your group or like what you're doing is unrepresented, like make a hashtag may be small, but you don't know where it can go, you don't know who it can help, so definitely it means a lot. And I'm glad, Lauren, and I hope you get more work, and I hope people are working under you. Well, not like in a bad way, but also like I wish you success.
Thank you so much. And you likewise, seriously. It's like we all need to support each other, and we have been. And I'm really, I'm proud of you for all the work that you've been doing and the heart, like the effort that you've put into this, and like making sure that this like would continue, because it could have just been a one-time thing and you didn't allow it to be a one-time thing. Mm-hmm. So I really appreciate that you kept pushing it and making it bigger and better. And again, I cannot wait to see where this goes for sure.
Me too. I hopefully it's something that maybe, I don't want to retire from it, but I do want it to grow, that hopefully it's like something that even like, I guess like it gets big enough that like I can provide like 10,000 college grants, or like, more funding to artists,
Definitely. I mean, I know it will. It definitely will. Yeah. Because you're speaking it. So it's going to be.
Manifesting it.
And that's just the truth. So I'm also curious too, now that all these people are getting hired and starting to really get recognized by bigger studios, what would your advice be to those studios who now have this Black talent in their rank?
I think making sure these spaces are safe, making sure that they're not also, I think one of the biggest things that people work with being a diversity hire, like making sure you hire these people because they are talented, not because they're Black, I think they, and also like basically set them up for failure. So don't like put them on shows that that they're going to fail in, because I feel like I have noticed sometimes they reach out to artists and like they put them in situations that they know that they're going to fail, and they can always be like, well, we try to hire Black artists but it didn't work out, so we're never going to hire Black artists. And that has happened in the past, because they're, I think also too, like knowing that your artist, like being content is like, you don't have to take crumbs, like you should be able to advocate for yourself and be able to like know like they're contacting you for work, so it's like you should be in the, like you're also like providing them a service too, so it's like don't give them that much credit, like studios, like don't let them take advantage of you, because they will take advantage of you. And then when you point that out, like, well, you're Black, if it wasn't for you, like, no, don't give them that power, like I think like offering enough, like I've seen like a lot of like young talent, not just like Black talent, but young artists in general, like they're kind of like, well, like I'll never get this opportunity again. Like, no, if someone's reaching out to you now, people are going to reach out to you in the future, so I think like for sure, like studios definitely need to reflect how they are treating their work, especially the Black employees, because like sometimes it is hard to like be Black in the industry, especially if you're not surrounded like a lot of Black folks. Like I'm still like one of the few Black folks on my crew and stuff, and like I have had times where they tell me to whitewash things as a color designer, and obviously I tell them no, I'm not going to do that. So you need like be able to hold your morals and hold your principles. Like you can't let the fear of being fired, being let go. Like you have to understand, like especially in a union, like there's some things that a studio can't do that they think that you can tell you to do, but you need to know your rights as a worker, So I think studying that and understanding, also talking to other artists around you, I think studios in general, you need to stop exploiting people, which is like, that's just a general, like don't exploit people, don't exploit their talents, don't exploit their passions, because at the end it's going to come right back at you, look at what's happening right now. Yeah. Let me stop though.
So to get real on the show. I mean, you can keep going, pop off. I don't.
No, because I'm like, oh, let me not lose my job.
No, I think that's great advice, seriously. I mean, from my own experience too, I've seen a lot of studios just like try to bring people in, but not really foster them and nurture them the way they need to. And you get hired sometimes into a hostile environment, and it gets really hard to want to stay in that studio. So there's a lot of places that have problems with attrition of Black talent. And so, I'm hoping that with more Black talent actually coming into the industry and more opportunities opening up, that that problem starts to alleviate a little bit. So
and I think also too, like, I think if I feel like I try to tell Black artists, like, do not have television. Don't, if you're the only Black person at the table, that's not an accomplishment. That's an issue. That's a systematic issue. And you need to try your best to reach out to other Black artists, and not just people who are working with you, but also who are trying to get an industry. You need to look out for everyone around you, because, like, honestly, if no one, I feel like everyone's not seeing, then no one's succeeding, so it's like, it's good to not just be hyper focused on your career, but also I feel like if you want diversity, you kind of have to kind of step up when you can, like, help if a Black artist reach out to you, or like fostering a relationship with them, and also, like, don't allow yourself to be the token. Like, do not allow yourself to be the token, because, like, I know when I was younger, like, when I was really young, I was like, I'm the only Black person even getting up. It's like, when I was in college, it was very isolating. Like, I don't like this. Like, I don't like being the only, like, dark-skinned person here. Like, I want more people around me like me. Like, it's so isolating. It's just like, it's so surprising people who feel like, oh, this is a good thing. Like, no, it's not a good thing. Like, there should be more people like that. It's like people celebrate, oh, the first, like, Black person to do this. Like, it's 2021. So it should no longer be first. Like, I don't want to be the first anything. Like, if I'm the first something, like, there's a failure in the system. Like, that's a failure in the system, and, like, you have to keep the momentum. Like, don't let yourself be the one and only Black person. Like, continue growing a community and continue growing the industry, because I think it's nice to, like, be able to connect to people who are just like you, or, like, understand your experience, not just, like, as a Black person, but also as a queer person, and, like, someone, like, who can really, like, empathize where you're coming from,
Yeah, definitely. And it's definitely something that I wanted to advocate for. Well, not wanted to, I have been advocating for it, because I'm also so exhausted from being the only one in the room all the time. There's an extra amount of added pressure and energy that it takes to be that one voice in the room when everybody turns to you when any Black issue is discussed, and they want you to be the answer to that whole solution. Like, I am one person. I don't represent my entire community. Where are the other people who look like me who can help me?
Exactly. Like, we're not a monolith. Like, we need different Black voices, because the thing is, like, I'm Ghanaian, but it's like, I can't speak on other things. Like, I can't speak on, like, Nigerian issues. I can't speak from, like, a person who was, like, born in America, who come from enslavement. Like, I can't speak. There's some things I can't speak on. There's other things I can't speak on. So it's like, there's different type of Black voices. Like, I can't speak as a Black cis man. Like, I'm a Black non-binary person. Like, my experience is, like, totally different than, like, someone else's experience. So it's, like, good to have different type of people. That's why diversity and inclusion is important, because, like, you get more ranges of stories and experiences, and it just makes interesting media.
Absolutely. And I think people are still, like, very much unaware of the nuances that exist in the full spectrum of the Black community, like, all the different cultures that exist within it, all the different, like, it's rich experiences too, because I'm an American Black woman. Like, my family's been here for, like, 200 years, I think. So it's like my experience is completely different from yours. It's completely different from somebody like Kofi. Like, like, for all these different people who we've had on the show, it's amazing to have talked to so many people, because everybody is coming from a different place, but there's also similarities, and those are beautiful too. And I want to be able to see the gamut of that in the media. Please.
Yes, please.
More of our stories.
Like, the more the better. Like, and also no more, like, I guess, like, limit, like, trauma stories. Like, sometimes, like, being Black is just stupid. Like, sometimes we do stupid stuff, like, stupid fun stuff. Like, sometimes we like to do fun stuff. Sometimes we like sci-fi. Sometimes we like, horror. Like things, like, I want to see more things beyond, like, the trauma of being Black. Like, I want to see, like, more like horror, more sci-fi, more fantasy stuff, more things besides that, you know, because it's like of course there's like room for these things, like of course there's room for like, you know, talking about race media, race issues and class, but also it's like sometimes you want to, you know, watch a Black spaceman fight aliens or fall in love with a monster or something, like, I don't know. Like, why not? Like, let's have fun.
Exactly.
You know?
I think, was it somebody on the show, maybe it was Eric, he was just like, I just want to see like bad like Black movies that are just out there too. Like, I want to see those crappy B movies like Sharknado, but it's like just you know, Black people like doing something and it's just bad acting, and then we can just have that because it's just out there.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like like Lottery Ticket, like that was a stupid fun movie. Like, I love Lottery Ticket. I was crying, even though I was young. I was like, this is such a stupid fun movie. Like, I just love stupid fun movies, but also like I love like really art film movies. Like, I would love to see a Black Hereditary, you know, like that would be really sick, you know. Us was like definitely like a story that was like, you know, this is like what I envision like good horror, you know, like Us, like it was a Black film but didn't really have to do too much about race, but it's also kind of like it still felt like it was a Black film, or like it was like following a Black family, you know. And I think like stories like that, you know, and you know, it's like I want like a huge range of stories, like how there's a huge range of like different like white stories, you know. Like, I think we should have that room to do that.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. And I can't wait until we get to that point. And you know, like this hashtag that you created is like, that's a ripple. That's, you know, like or not, that ripple is going to cause those stories to actually happen.
Yeah, even like in the hashtag, there's so different types of artists. Like, you know, it's like people who work in hyperrealism, and then like people who work in comic styles and like cartoons and anime. Like, no one artist draws the same, you know. Like, so it's like, why would one Black person have the same experience as someone else? Like, why would I have the same taste as another Black person? Like, no, like we're all different. We also connect with our differences, you know.
Yeah, and studios can no longer say, I couldn't find any Black talent, I tried. It's just like, we out here.
We're out here, like, open your eyes. And open your wallets too.
Yeah, that's right. Give us money. There's no excuses. All right, this has been amazing, seriously. Is there any parting advice that you want to leave our listeners?
I guess I always, it's like definitely if you have a community, definitely be a part of it, you know. If not, make a community, you know, and you know, like support each other, because like honestly, like we're humans, like we can't survive alone, so it's like it's good to connect with others and build relationships with others. And also too, like you're not your career, like you're a human being, and that your value is not just how many shows you work on, or like what your production, like how many like studios you work with, or how much art you make. It's like you're because you are you know. So it's like it's good to help put value in yourself, and like really like invest in yourself, and like how you can like help your own mental health and like your own self-care, you know, before you think that if you don't work at a certain, you have no value. No, you have value just. So I think that's my biggest advice, is like be selfish but also be selfless. you know. And I want to thank everyone for supporting Drawn While Black, and also just in general supporting my art career, you know. I really can't, I think without the community I would not be where I am today, so it's like I'm very thankful. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and speak with us. This has been amazing, and I can't wait to see what this grows into and what you continue to do with your career and this initiative. So super excited about it.
Thank you guys so much. It was so nice talking to you guys. I love y'all's art so much. So it's like an honor.
We're honored to have you on the show.
Right back at you.
we all here admiring each other. This is beautiful. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and we will talk to you next time. Bye, y'all.
Bye.